Hi, this is Sean Schwanner, and I'm reciting to you the story of how I became a professor of triumph. Today I'm reading from my book written in 2015 entitled Dear Mama. I'm reading the prologue. I was born a poor black child. And I begin. History has a way of bringing seemingly unrelated people and events into public discourse and consciousness. In a typical day, few draw upon the past to understand how it shapes the present condition. My life was formed, defined, and brought to being by a woman who dropped out of school in the third grade, was physically and sexually abused by her stepfather, picked cotton, and fought in bare-knuckle boxing matches for survival, and developed a wisdom beyond that which is common. The life of Bertha Lee, Mama, green, rife with pain, burned a flame that lit a path for her little white baby, and subsequently the life and thinking of nearly 10,000 students. These overlaps between the darkness born of hate and the lightness birthing love are curious indeed. When Steve Martin proclaimed in the 1976 classic movie The Jerk that I was born a poor black child, I sat amazed that someone understood my position in the world. While I was watching the rhythmless Martin dance foolishly on the front porch of the rural shack, it reverberated truth to me. Though my biological parents were white, I was born a poor black child, and my mama was an African-American Creole Cherokee mountain of strength and kindness. Some would define her as a babysitter or, in the more modern vernacular, a nanny, but she was much more to me. Mama was a matriarch who ruled with an iron fist but loved with a tender heart. My young childhood friend, Chris Strock, remembered her as an intimidating woman who loved us kids. She was an amalgamation of experience, abuse, racial discrimination, and hatred. She was a plurality of history, family, and disadvantage. Mama was a queen born from a cruel world. The mix she brought to life was a brew of wisdom beyond the common day. Mama Green was both the past and the present and lives on today through the grace of storytelling. As I compose this manuscript from the depths of my personal despair, I remember her wisdom fondly. As I dwell in my temple of pain, as she called it, I am lifted by her memories, sayings, and experience of triumph. She once said, "As long as I have a breath, baby, I will love you." Well, she breathes through me through these parables and is a blessing in my life once again. In writing her story, my life and career as a college professor is a reflection of a physical body 20-plus years deceased, yet a soul that is alive and fresh today. Her memory burns bright, and it is my duty to share her journey and her wisdom. It is my duty to deliver her message. It is my duty to live and acknowledge that she saved me and once more is doing so again. I can hear her saying now, "The Lord works in mysterious ways." Maybe I'm finally starting to understand what she meant. The story is about Mama Green, her little white baby, and the power of persistence, perseverance, and patience. It is a shared history of two people that, by typical structural circumstances, should have never met. Instead, our lives are intertwined in a historical formation of love that transcends time and space in a most unique fusion. My pilgrimage to the Mecca of understanding starts and ends with the woman who raised me from 3 weeks and 1 day old to the aging man who will always be Mama's baby. There may be points where I cry, and you have to excuse me for that because this touches my heart. Back to the story. The stories and quotations used in this book are true and reflect her renderings and my personal recollections. To say the least, there is blood, sex, abuse, and pain scattered herein. This is a dark treatise bearing light where life lessons, guidance, charm, and the wit surreptitiously converge. This book bears tolerance, understanding, and a tacit view that only love can save the world. In the end, her ultimate message to me was simple: live with purity of purpose and always live in peace. In the spring of 1988, several Denison University students and I, including Lisa Coleman, the current or former Chief Diversity Officer at Harvard University, had dinner with Maya Angelou at the Buxton Inn in Granville, Ohio. The quiet literary giant shared some anecdotes of her work and was more interested in hearing from us students that were in attendance that evening. This dinner occurred in the aftermath of a major student protest sit-in at Denison University regarding race, and Dr. Tony Stoneburner, Denison University English professor, mentioned that I had an interesting view on the subject. When she asked to hear it, I shared the story of me and Mama Green. When I finished telling the complex story of love and sacrifice, she noted that, I quote, "You should write a book about your life with Miss Green," unquote. Nearly 3 decades have since passed, and I surmise that now is time. In reference to Maya Angelou, I can attest that I know why the caged bird sings. These reflections are a call for love through sacrifice, strength through vulnerability, and the acknowledgement that greatness sleeps within the rubble of personal adversity. Dear Mama is my story, is shaped by the life and guidance of Mama Green. In a most philosophical way, this collection is a living representation how a stream of past events produce current consciousness and knowledge that is used in daily life. This book is a spirited connection between the history of sharecropping and cotton picking to the coming age of a man and educator. Our meeting and relationship represents the quintessential notion that if a butterfly flaps its wing in New York, it can cause a tsunami in Japan, and how history and the destiny are an unfolding process of becoming. It's an exchange between tradition, luck, and serendipity. Under the umbrella, everyone, even Mama Green, can make a difference to humanity's history. The essence of my life blended together with hers shows that we are all interconnected through an untold bond invisible by sight, but transcendent nonetheless. I've learned from Mama Green that people are more similar than they are different, and that it is through the social construction of moral and ethical boundaries that hate emerges and destroys the concept of possibility. External hate explodes and violence manifests. Internal hate eviscerates the perfection of untainted souls. The possibility of peace, love, and happiness are rendered helpless through the abuse, impropriety, and illusion. Hope can only survive through the suspension of indifference and the realization that within each person is a shared thread of humanness. Mama taught me two simple lessons that have shaped my life. 1, never hate. 2, never judge another unless you have walked in their shoes, and you have never walked in anyone else's shoes. Such wisdom is a testament that no matter the hardship, no matter the despair, we can all learn lessons from one another if, and only if, we are open to the wisdom of a mama. This is Mama's story. This is my story. This is our truth.